Good evening, everybody. For those that have joined us and those that have been waiting for us to begin and kick off, welcome to the weekly WeGro AMA. This is our Ask Me Anything hour. Well, not quite, not quite completely. We're going to dominate a good portion of this hour, a little bit differently than we have past AMAs, where a lot of it was more of a banter back and forth, question and answer. We've got some exciting news here at WeGro. So although we will have a question and answer session at the end, so if you do have questions, please pop them in the chat. I'm going to do a quick round of introductions. I'm Walt Rampata. I am the CEO, one of the co-founders of WeGro. We're going to have two moderators tonight. To my right, you guys can't see it, but Brady Bunch style, Miss Rachel Amin. And then to my left and to my little up, again, Brady Bunch style, I'm looking at Mr. Todd Dector. They'll be emceeing us tonight, walking us through some of the topics that we've got at hand. So if you have questions, pop them in the chat, and Todd and Rachel will be monitoring those and picking out the ones that bubble up the most or have the most meat for us to chew on. And then additionally, I want to introduce the executive team from WeGro. We've got some amazing people on our family, our crew, and we're real excited about some new team members. So without further ado, I want to make some quick introductions so we know who's talking tonight. We have Mr. Rick Gilchrist to my left. He's our Chief Operating Officer. Down to my bottom, it's Mr. Sean Crawford. He's our president, and the one of the sparks that originally started this entire idea. We also have Justin Mayer to my top right. He's a member of our team, partner from a number of opportunities that we've worked together on, and we're real excited to have him here. He's very instrumental in helping us with our social channels. And then last but not least, I want to introduce a new member who we're going to be talking extensively about tonight, and that's Mr. AJ Jagori. He's joining us as our chairman, who's going to be leading up our crypto advisory board. So without further ado, I'm going to pass the mic to our MCs, and we'll get things underway. And we look forward to talking with you tonight. Thanks for spending some time with us.
Yeah, thanks, Walt. I'll be brief because you're right. We have so much covered tonight and so many interesting people that have joined the company. For anyone who doesn't know me, I am actually just like a fangirl right now. This is a team of people I've known for a long time. I think they're great guys. I think they have tons of integrity. And one of the things that I love the most is I am not technical and I am not about crypto. And they're like, you're going to learn it and you're going to have fun learning it. And we're going to be here to support you. So this is one of the few coins out there where everyone feels welcomed. Everyone has a chance to participate. And without further ado, I'm going to let Todd say a quick hello because he actually works at WeGro. And then we'll kick it off with this huge agenda of all these huge announcements.
Well, thank you, Rachel. I appreciate it. It's a pleasure to be on the team. I head up operations and PMO for the company and report to one of the co-founders, Rick Gilchrist, our COO. And I'm just here to help provide support. And we look forward to a great night. Feel free to place your questions in the chat. We might not be able to get to all of them, but as Walt mentioned, we'll do our best. We have a lot to cover in this hour to come. So thank you for attending. And if you have any questions, put them in the chat. We'll do our very best. Thanks so much. Back to you, Walt.
Actually, I think it's back to Rachel.
Back to Rachel.
Back to me. Well, I love that. Okay, so we have new hires and some very important new hires. So I am going to kick it right back to you, Walt, because I want everyone who deserves to be talked about for a long time to be talked about for a long time, because this is pretty game-changing this week.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't want to do anybody a disservice. So if you bear with me just a moment, I am pulling up my notes because I want to make sure that I'm saying everything 100% correctly. So
yeah, because this guy's in Denmark, right? So we didn't make him show up.
No. So our first new hire, and you guys might have seen something about him on our social channels, is Taylor Ryan. I'm real excited about Taylor. Actually, he's not really a new hire. He's kind of been working with us for a good bit of time behind the scenes, but officially he's been papered up and he's a part of the team as our VP of marketing. I'm real excited to have him on board because I get to work with him pretty directly every day, overseeing marketing. If you get a chance, check him out on LinkedIn. The guy is an amazing individual, both from a heart and soul perspective and from an experience perspective.
And a TV star.
Right, and a TV star. Yeah, if you get a chance, do a quick search on House Hunters International and Taylor Ryan. But he's a startup junkie, a growth hacker, an angel investor himself, keynote speaker, full stack marketer, workshop enthusiast, innovation consultant, mentor, and more. He's a 6-time startup founder, 14 years plus of digital marketing and growth experience. He's done over 100 keynote presentations, and he is the Ecosystem Hero of the Year 2020 in Denmark. So very excited to have him part of the team. Again, because of the time difference, wasn't able to join us tonight. We're going to try and time something in the future so he can come on and say a few words. He's, again, if you get a chance, check him out on LinkedIn, and also check out his talks on YouTube. Next, I want to spend some additional time talking about a gentleman that we're very excited to introduce, both because of, again, he goes back to the heart and soul of who WeGro is. And similar to what I said about Taylor Ryan, he's got the heart and soul and the vibe that really truly makes up who we are. But besides that, he also has an immense amount of knowledge and experience that is going to be instrumental in the future success of WeGro and the roadmap that we've got laid out in front of us. That gentleman is AJ Jagori. He's going to be coming on board as our chairman of our Crypto and Data Advisory Board. I'll give you a little bit of intro on who AJ is. As a 40 under 40 nominee in the Fortune magazine for most influential people in business, Jagori has had 7 successful multi-exits as a techpreneur and has helped the U.S. government's expansion of open source software usage. Moreover, he is a blockchain 1.0 hyperledger pioneer, a distinguished TED speaker that holds degrees from George Mason University in engineering, MIT, Massachusetts Institution of Technology in fellowship, and the Harvard Business School, actually currently on sabbatical. Heading up our advisory board, he will be bringing in leaders and operators and tacticians from Web 3.0, 5IR, cybersecurity, fintech industries to help navigate the ever-evolving landscape of our industry. So without further ado, I want to actually kind of put AJ on the spot and pass the mic to him for a brief moment and have him give us an understanding a little bit of who he is, but moreover, what attracted him to WeGro, what he's excited about, and tell us a little bit about this crypto advisory board that you're going to be chairing as well.
Well, I apologize. You may hear my dog here for the next probably 10 seconds or so. So he's on his way out, but I appreciate the opportunity. I think it's something that when the opportunity was originally presented, I kind of looked at this as a means of understanding really what the project entailed. In my experiences, I held a lot of stored value early on in blockchain and crypto. As a ledger operator, blockchain evangelist, I was on the buy side, I was on the sell side, from Satoshis to HODL to the mooning. Been involved in every phase. So the genesis for and really my interest in WeGro fundamentally came down to what we in the industry call TTVAC. And I'll tell you a little bit about what that acronym is. And the TTVAC is stands for Team Technology Vision Analysis and Community. This is the litmus test that you typically look at to evaluate, the probability of success. And of course, there is, as a kind of forward-looking statement, crypto is widely considered to be volatile, with the potential for significant upward and downward movements. However, how do you select to be involved with different projects? On one side, we talk about this term called tokenomics, right? The functionality, objective, policies, the token model, some of the technical stuff, the market cap. But as a consumer that looking at it from a consumption side, in having conversations with the team early on, the TTVAC, Team Technology Vision Analysis Community, that's what you typically look at when you want to get involved with the project. And I've been fortunate where I was an early adopter from 2014 onward, and my traction to WeGro really came in understanding the most important vital part of the TTVAC, which is the team and the vision. I think technology is there. We've all appreciated the advancements of technology, as Walt was saying, the fifth industrial revolution. We're there now, but the team is superb, and I think the vision is extraordinary. The community of interest is fantastic, and I've been tracking for a very short period of time. So I think that became a kind of the genesis for getting involved with the WeGro family, and I look forward to in my role as kind of a steward, kind of bringing the industry, bringing some of the realities, and kind of moving the needle to a point where there is value from our proof of stake. The purpose of this is for us not to be bag holders, to establish the proof of work, establish proof of stake, but also fundamentally create value in industry. And part of that is aligning with the right operators, partners, tacticians, and I look forward to the opportunity, and I'm very bullish on what we're doing. And most importantly, the team and the culture is fantastic. So I look forward to, I don't want to use the term mooning because that's I think readily used a lot, and I want to stay away from that, but I look forward to scaling and building this collectively with the team, and look forward to interfacing with all the users, the community, everyone out there that's driving this, and we appreciate your confidence, and we want to make sure that we certainly we don't take that lightly. So look forward to getting this scaled and off the ground.
Thank you, AJ. And one thing I want to stress with what AJ said and it goes to the thread of who WeGro is that you've heard me say this on previous AMAs. In many ways, our focus at WeGro is to turn the matrix on its head. In many ways, the fundamentals of what we're doing with our tokenomics, with what we're doing with our supporting data structure and data blockchain, and then the interoperability and the shareability, permissibility within that. There's some interesting pieces to how all that plays out and being able to assist in helping humanity. And the one thing that not only attracted us to AJ, besides his resume and his experience, is his focus on bettering and raising the bar or the water level for all ships. And so the addition of him to our team is beneficial in many ways in assisting the guidance and the strategy behind our roadmap, but even more so to the altruistic heart of who we are. His focus is very much going to be on our advisory crypto alliance board. We're still working on the exact naming of it, But it's that vein that really cemented who's AJ was, and it really brought him in as a member of the team. So if you could speak, I know there's a lot we got to keep close to the chest about the team we're assembling there on our advisory board. Needless to say, I will at least leak this much to our audience tonight. It's impressive. But what I will say, but I do want AJ to talk a little bit about what the thoughts are for how this is going to assist the industry at large.
I think in the aggregate, you kind of look at the market itself as a whole has been very, very bullish on the idea of introducing a lot of tokens, but from the perspective of hedging those bets and really running a very tactical token that allows not just the holders, but also the communities to benefit from that. Without being too cliche, the idea here is that we're very bullish on the long term. Some of the things that we're doing are short-term necessities versus symptoms, but what we're very, very bullish on is the idea of leveraging, for example, the data, the ecosystem partnership. When you look at the market today and you look at a lot of the crypto coins or tokens or altcoins, one of the things that you often find is that they're fairly one-dimensional. So the genesis is very economically driven, which is not to say that is a point we want to be dismissive of, but I think to build this, we're building this at scale at an enterprise level to appreciate some things like the ability to understand and help data. Data is the single most critical aspect of any token. And if you have a secondary swim lane, and if you create a third swim lane, you stabilize your token. So the token becomes the de facto mechanism, but you also have other swim lanes that provides a means of stabilizing your business, kind of creating enterprise value. So the value that we're looking to create is beyond just the volatilities that we're seeing today. We want to make sure that we position ourselves so that we extract value, provide value back into the industry. The industry as a whole has been very, very volatile, but there are great examples out there where there's that secondary, we'll call business model or swim lane or enterprise, where that allows those particular tokens or coins to continue operating. And for us, creating that value is going to be instrumental because we have the technology team, we also have the operators, and as Walt was saying, some of the individuals that are involved in this effort have been some of the best and brightest that I've had an opportunity to, in a very short order, to come to know. So these are exciting times, and I think over the course of the next several weeks and months, we're going to see a lot of growth. There's a lot of ecosystem partnerships that are going to go into play. And the biggest key here is, as a company, we want to make sure that we diversify in a way that we can ride some of these volatility waves. That's an expectation, right? Every single one of us on this call and all the participants, we understand that there's volatility involved, but how do you ride that off? And how do you position yourself so that you have, secondary and third means of stabilizing you're targeting your company, and you do that by diversifying early on. So we are building the foundation for that. I couldn't be more excited.
One thing, if I could add, AJ is co-piloting with me this broad-based product development, specifically the jump from the idea of this just one token that's based upon a security of that specific blockchain behind it, to building out a universal blockchain that creates crossover, that creates the value in each transaction in the data that's actually being collected along those transactions. It's also allowing us to plug in data inputs that you would normally never have access to, by being able to not only create the utility by sharing that data, but also monetizing that data as it's being licensed. I know a lot of questions that have been asked in Telegram recently, and even as recently as tonight, is that, how is this data really being shared and how is it being presented? And I think it's really important to know that this is permissive sharing. So everything, even from the top level, it is personalized, but it is anonymized. You're never gonna
Let me jump in there. If I can jump in just for a second before you continue on, because I don't want this to be lost on our audience when we talk about permissive data sharing. That's a new concept to a lot of people, because traditionally we haven't had the opportunity to permissively share our data. So let's be clear about that. In most realms today, you are the product. Today, if you go on to social channels, they are utilizing your information and benefiting monetarily from your data. In this scenario, and to give you an example of the permissive part of what they do allow you to do, is that one set of your friends sees one version of Walt Rampada. My other friends see another version of Walt Rampada. You can, change the dynamics of who sees what within your feed and how much they're allowed to see. Similarly, we are looking to offer that same permissibility of, essentially check boxes, share this with this group, don't share this with that group, but doing it with your monetizable data. And I'll pass the mic back to Rick.
No, that's excellent way of putting that out there, especially because, like you said, you're the product. Well, we talked about this in previous AMAs. That data is extraordinarily valuable. We look at it on a micro scale. Each individual, if they were to sell their data one time to the top 270 brokers out there, is worth over $100,000 to you as an individual. And that's just doing the top. We're not talking about all the world brokers out there. We're just talking about the top brokers. And you're selling that data one time to each one of them once a month. With what you're doing and what you're able to share, and we're not even talking utility, for people knowing who you are, what you do, and how the overall ecosystem benefits from you being part of it, that's where, being able to be remunerated becomes extremely attractive, because you now have control over that in what you're sharing. The utility factor of that, and this is really where AJ comes into play, is it's not just the utility for individuals, but the utility for businesses. Businesses that would normally never be connected can be connected and verified through proof of work, through a blockchain schema that allows us to understand a primary data, secondary data, tertiary data, and data that is correlated to other data inputs and programmatics. So it's extremely important to realize that while we're not going to try to give away all the secret sauce today, it will allow people to understand what types of products should be put on shelves. And what goes into what will actually influence those products on the shelves. We're talking about everything from the supply chain to logistics, all the way through the final product, and the remarketing and persistence and adoption of products, services, and experiences. And it goes even further into the business side of that.
The microcosm of any consumer online right now, whether you hold a Facebook account or whether you hold a other aggregate social account, your data is already out there. It is anonymized. It is permissive, and it does carry a value. Each of us have a data value, a data gauge-based value online. So part of I think what we believe the economy of our platform and what we're getting to is the idea that your data and any data that's out there, how do you purpose that in a fashion that buys enterprise value? When I say enterprise value, it's business to business, but there's also the component of business to consumer to business. So those are the bull cases, but the long-term complexities of this, because we are staging a data service provider type model, it allows us to really retroactively bring some of that value on back to our token. And there is a lot of benefit to the consumer side of this, right? So the demand side of this. While we scale the supply side, we also have to create additional value. So to create as a fiduciary responsibility and ensure the stability of the token through the ups and downs of the market, you have to have another stationary position, and that's what's important, right? So we're going to see over the course of the next quarter, we're on average, I think we're going to see between 100 and 200 different tokens introduced, but eventually at some point, that funnel is going to get narrow, and who maintains their market position will ultimately determine how much additional parallel value they bring, how much additional value that they have, and can they truly withstand some of the tumultuous volatility. But if you position yourself early on and you have other value outside of the tokenomics, then I think the probability of survival is high.
Awesome. Hey, I have a question for you guys as a non-techie person. Rick, I'll ask you because I know you know the answer. Based on what we just talked about, having something that backs up your cryptocurrency, meaning there is something, an actual product, service, something that it is tied to. How many of the other coins out there, just generally speaking, have some type of actual value behind the perceived value?
It's a good question. I think both AJ and I can handle this one. His experience going back to 1.0, mine coming on 2. The number of what we call meme coins out there are just they're too numerous to count at this point. And a lot of these tokens and coins, as you're referring to them, as they are based upon a perceived value, not a real value. There's nothing sitting in a bank that's backing this up. You know, those that are creating utility around it, and there are some great names out there that have some awesome utility behind it. They're providing an actual service or a verification product or something of that nature. You know, I'd say that really represents maybe 5% of what's out there.
What? That's kind of scary. Okay, that's awesome. Thank you.
I'll give you a more specific number: 7,557 as of November of last year. Only less than 7 of that presented some sort of backed utility function or value.
Can you repeat that, AJ? That it was hard to hear, but I think that was profound. 7%?
No, 7,557.
Yes.
Less than 7%. I'm giving you data from November 2021. 7,557 coins, tokens, altcoins. This is not let me separate non-BTC. Okay, so we have BTC and then we have others. Of that, less than 7% carried a back value. What we're creating is that back value, right? So if there is a
selected at front porch town.
if there is a market value there to talk about, we can guesstimate that somewhere in the next, as far as market saturation goes, if we're looking at 100 coins over the course of the next quarter, anywhere between 7 to probably 3% of that is going to have a back value.
So when you think of the number of tokens / coins that are released that have a sustainable business model, it's far and few between. And the core competencies of WeGro, really, I mean, that's what I get a lot in the community. I'm looking at questions here on this call, but a lot of people come to me and ask me, AJ, what are you doing differently that the other coins are not doing? What will sustain you? How are you contributing? What is the replicatable business model that will allow data to differentiate you from all the other, pump and dump opportunities out there? How would you answer that particular naysayer or skeptic?
So I think there's a couple of takeaways, right? So first of all, when you look at currency as itself, currency has value because they can function as a sort of value in the unit exchange, right? They have to demonstrate some sort of attribute to allow it to be used in the economy. The dollar, the definition of value in the currency has changed over the course of time. So we look at something like Bitcoin. It has some demonstrable attribute for a currency, but its main source of value lies in what's called the restricted supply and demand. If in that scope, if you kind of think of that in that analogy, you have to create some sort of serviceable attribute or province that can serve as an additional kind of backed value. It doesn't have to be transactional. So let me make sure that it doesn't have to be transactional in the sense that, but it has to have the visibility, it has to have acceptability, it has to be portable, it has to be durable, and it has to be resistant to things like that, uniformity. How do you create that? This goes back to that ubiquitous kind of operating system that we're talking about. The idea there is that if you have a niche market right now that is willing to adopt, say cannabis, a niche market, can you create a backed foundation to your token or your coin that has some of those attributes? And the answer there is yes. Right? So if you look at cannabis, it has acceptability. The commodity is portable, it's durable, and it has uniformity. So if you merge that and you're creating this ubiquitous operating system, like a data operating system, where you can now say, we can service the cannabis market, but we're the actual holders of the ubiquitous operating system. Let's go back a couple. Let's think of the evolution. We'll go to Web 1.0. We take you guys back to the early days of .com. Microsoft began emerging as the core operating system, right? If you kind of think of all the consumers of that operating system, everybody eventually funneled through Microsoft. To get to the internet, to get a PC, the operating system is Microsoft, right? So if you kind of think of cannabis in that sense, Microsoft had a back foundation. It wasn't their primary product, but they knew that if they became the de facto operating system, everything funneled through Microsoft. So they started controlling the market and became dominant. Analogous to that, if you kind of follow the same dichotomy, for us, if we establish ourselves as that ubiquitous operating system that can, excuse me, my mic's a little bit low here. If you could, as a ubiquitous operating system, to start capturing data and start capturing market presence as a tokenized platform that has a crypto backing, but by the way, we can now serve as a ubiquitous operating system for the cannabis market. That in itself provides foundation. So by definition of value, you go to an attribute that has a lot of velocity in its use for economic value. That provides us the backing. That's what I'm most excited about. So we can function there, we can function as a store of value because we have an ubiquitous operating system. Our tokenomics now has some sort of established backing where it allows us to continue building and scaling it. Because now we fall in that 7% of the 7,000 plus different tokens.
I hope everybody heard that. I know that your audio is not as clear as we would love it to be, but at the end of the day, I think you just defined the fact that the business model, the utility, and the foundation that we're building today has legs. At the end of the day, and that's hopefully an understatement. And I appreciate you elaborating because I think that brought a lot of clarity to a lot of the community when they look at the future. But it became very, very clear with your explanation. Thank you so much. Rick, Walt, Sean, Justin, would you have anything to add to that when you look at the perspective of the utility and the core competencies, what's contributing to our business model for sustainability?
I'm actually going to pass the mic over to Justin Mayer. You know,
Perfect.
He's got an interesting perspective on this, specifically with his even recent past experiences and his proximity to the cryptocurrency world. So I think he'll add some interesting perspective.
Thanks, Walt.
Yeah, I definitely I think you're going to start to see this in the space that we're in, that most tokens are going to morph towards this model. Otherwise, they're not going to survive. You know, the era of the meme coin, I think, is over. They're all hype plays. They're all pump and dumps, or whatever you want to call them. I mean, every other day there's another meme coin that comes off of whatever Elon's tweeting. He could be like, I'm eating French toast for breakfast, and there'll be French toast coin. It'll spike and then it'll die. And there's always people that are going to be holding the bag in those plays. And even just my experience having launched very successful projects, you know, one of the biggest names was Emacs. We had every celebrity endorser you could think of. Kim Kardashian still tweets about it to this day. And you see where that coin is, and it's because there's no utility, there's no function behind it, there's no business model behind it. It was purely a marketing ploy. And if you want your token to be there long-term and survive, you have to have some sort of revenue stream that's pushing back into the product. There's got to be some sort of utility or function. And that's why when I met you guys in June, I said, I think that's just revolutionary, because you were one of the first people that understood that concept and got it and had some really unique things backing it that are going to be pumping huge amounts of revenue back into the token. So that way, regardless if people sell off their positions or exit their positions or take some profits along the way and the chart drops, you guys are going to be pushing that price back up organically just from the actual business that you have backing it. And that's game changer. And anybody who's in this space that doesn't get that and isn't building their tokens around ideas like that, they're dinosaurs. They're not going to be around. And so those are the only types of tokens that I invest in now. I don't throw into meme coins anymore. I don't do those casino gamble plays. I'm looking for long-term sustainable projects that have a great team behind it, a vision, but have that utility and function behind it, so that I know, regardless if some big position decides to exit and move on to the next play, because that's what happens in this space. People get bored and they want to move on really quickly and 10x their position and move on again. I don't care. I really don't care what my portfolio looks short term, as long as I'm putting it into established companies. And again, this is putting my my old brain on. I was a financial advisor for 13 and a half years, so I looked at traditional companies. Like, that's what I had me and my clients investing in, was companies that had actual value. And moving over into the crypto world, where it's more perceived value, now those two worlds are going to kind of merge, and that's really where the industry is going to be taking. And you guys, I think, are just on the forefront of it, and that's why I was happy to become part of the team.
Well, Justin, thank you. AJ, your reputation precedes you, and we're so blessed to have you be a part of WeGro. For those that don't know, Justin is a legend himself in the crypto world and is a pioneer. He's not only, as he mentioned, a financial advisor, but he's already built his own companies. So he's really coming from a vantage point of independence and someone who, and keep me honest, Justin, you, I think, had shared with me that you wanted to retire and get out of this, but it was the vision of Walt and Rick and Sean and now AJ that, as Al Pacino said in Godfather Part 3, they brought me back in just when I thought I was getting out. They brought me back in.
Yeah, when I was with Emacs, just managing that big project with, again, it wasn't just solely me, there was a large team behind us. It was just so time consuming and stressful. And when I exited that position, I said, all right, it's time for me to just spend time with family. And I was burnt out. And Sean kept, reaching out to me and saying, hey, you really got to look at what we're doing. And I said, hey, you know what? I'll take the call. Maybe I'll be an investor. I'll be a backer, but I'm looking to just exit the space. And I don't think I'm going to be behind any projects. I'm probably going to retire. And so I took the call with him and Walt. And after that hour and a half, I said, all right, this is something that's really interesting. I'm like, how do I become a part of this? So yeah, I was ready to just move on into the sunset, and they pulled me back in.
They sucked you back in, brother. I love it. Well, Rachel, I know that you've been very magnanimous in fielding, I can't speak, and answering a lot of questions in chat. And there's been in the Q&A box, there was a couple profound questions there. Could you champion those and maybe address some of our SMEs on the call?
Of course. And I have to say, yes, AJ is a rock star. Yes, actually, the whole team kind of is. So as I said at the beginning, I'm a little bit of a fangirl because you don't get this level of talent and they're nice people in the same place. It's kind of a big deal. So with that said, I know that a few of these things got answered privately, but if there are questions that I think people might want to know, I'll use your first names. James wants to know, this is his first AMA, so the question might have already been asked, but I don't think it has. What are the future plans for WeGro as far as being on other crypto platforms such as crypto.com or even Robinhood? Robinhood especially, because the buyer doesn't own their coins, and if so, then how would the reflections work in that situation?
Yeah, and I answered that one. I typed it out.
A long answer, Justin. Please, repeat it.
Yeah,
so
but I'll repeat it so for the people that are only just listening in. So right now, most major exchanges can't handle reflection tokens. They just don't understand the concept essentially behind it. So how we're going to be using the exchanges when we do list on them is really going to be for more of ease of buying and ease of getting in, or ease of selling, lowering maybe your fees. You'll have to then send those tokens back to one of an individual wallet. And at that point in time, then you'll get your reflections tracked to you, just because the exchanges can't handle that. And hopefully at some point, the technology will adapt and that industry will change. But for right now, that's going to be the process. Is if you're buying from an exchange, you'll just have to send it to a wallet, and then you'll start collecting your reflections at that point.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. There's a couple others, and I want you to lead, of course, Rachel, but I do want to go back to the very beginning. There's a good friend of the company, one of our ambassadors, Scott Jager, is out there, who at the very outset asked about his excitement in investing. However, he's a newer crypto buyer, and he's asking on behalf of newer buyers, what are there any wallets that can be used where you don't have to provide personally identifiable information or copies of bank statements and utility bills? And I know this sounds very, very much like a housekeeping question, but I think we have a lot of people on this call that are very intrigued by WeGro, and they want to get in and they want to be ambassadors, but they're sometimes off-put by these requests for bank statements, utility bills. Would someone like to address that on the team?
I'll start by leading things, but I think a couple of us should weigh in here. This is actually kind of an important step in the process that really can't be avoided. It's because of KYC. It's because of yep, bingo. It's because of a thing called KYC. So I'll pass the mic to Justin, let him talk about KYC.
Yeah, even though we're in a deregulated environment, there's still got to be KYC, which is know your customer. And this is just a way for them to kind of track that you're an actual person and not just a computer bot opening up all these different accounts. And I think that's more of a way for the governments to, at some point, when they do bring in some sort of regulation, they're going to need that data knowledge, and that's not something that we can control. That's just the industry across the board. So whether it's Trust Wallet, MetaMask, Coinbase, they're going to ask, hey, send me a picture of your driver's license, give me your social security. You got to at least input that data so that way you can hold an account, and it's just part of the process. It's no different than if you opened up a brokerage account and wanted to start trading stocks. You have to do the same thing, and that's just the industry across the board.
I'm going to jump in as a newbie and say I get it, because at any given time you get 5 different things that go hand us all your information, and it scares you to pieces because you're just I guess my whole bank account could get known by someone I don't know.
Yeah. When you said bank account statements, so I've never had to send bank statements in for Trust Wallet or MetaMask or Coinbase, so I don't know which wallet he's specifically talking about. Most of them are just, hey, give me your picture of your driver's license, give me your social, give me your basic data, and that's about it.
Well, and just maybe that's a good question. What are some ones you trust? Because I'm not going to hog all this time we have left because not very much, but yeah, Rick has sweated blood out of his eyes helping me with this, because as a non-crypto person, surely it can be easier. And I know you guys are working on that. Thank you. But in the meantime, making it easy to tell us yeah, it's okay when they ask this, or no, it's not good. I want to talk about the 12 key phrases. When should you ever give that to someone?
Yeah,
and sorry to interrupt, but I think Mr. Jager is still on the call, and he just said it was Binance.us, Justin and Rachel, that requested it for everybody's edification there.
Gotcha. You guys heard of Binance?
Okay, so that's a major exchange, and Binance is tricky for Americans right now, just because there's still 7 states that it's banned in, but it's a really it's a nice exchange if you're trying to get B&B token. It's not the only place that you can go. There's Hotbit. There's you can go directly from your credit card to MoonPay and Simplex. So there's a lot of other different options that are maybe a little bit more less intrusive than Binance. I wasn't even aware that that's one of their requirements, because I live in Connecticut, which Binance is banned in. So I have to use other methods.
Do you mind putting a few in the chat that you use that you feel are trustworthy for all of us newbies who don't know?
Sure. Yeah, I can take that up.
Well, who should I give my 12 keywords to? The guy on Facebook saying I just want a zillion tokens?
There's only one person only that I want to answer, because it's him that you need to give it to. His name's Sean Crawford.
Okay. So if your name isn't Sean Crawford,
No, no, and please don't send me your seed phrase either. But no, you never share that with anyone. And you if anyone's ever asking for your seed phrase or asking you to connect to a wallet that's away from our website, which is the authentic website, WeGroCoin.com. Make sure it's spelled out correctly with no W. Make sure it is the exact URL. We'll never ask you to connect your wallet. We'll never ask you to give us your seed phrase. And if you're being asked for those things or being told to go to a website to collect some prize of tokens, you can pretty much assure that that's not us. If you have any questions, reach out to myself or Justin or Zig in Telegram and let them know what you saw and if this is an authentic WeGro program. But no, we're giving away billions or trillions of tokens, which is some of the ones that I've seen. And yeah, this is a pretty common thing in cryptocurrency. When there's a successful project, there's always going to be someone who's going to try to take advantage of that or the community. So just be very wary and stick to the regiment. You never connect to a wallet. You never give out your seed phrase, and you should be able to steer clear of those type of scams.
Thank you.
I'll add a caveat there. And that caveat is that we're in the process of developing something really, really cool right now, in a way to kind of get away from everybody having to deal with these less than ideal exchanges or swaps or integrations and multiple off connections that, you know, half the people abandon because it becomes cumbersome. So there, in the next 4 to 5 weeks, you may be seeing some changes to our website that include an integration that will make this process a lot easier. It may include being able to get exactly what you need exactly into your wallet as well, but that's about all we're going to share right now.
Well spoken, Rick. Rachel, do you want to take the latest question in the Q&A?
Maybe.
There's an anonymous Zoom user, and I love your Kelly Ripa Vanna White presence about you. That doesn't reflect your intelligence or wit. I'm just talking about your presence. There you go. So
yeah, I'm all around. I feel like I'm in my group here with all these brilliant men.
You are.
Okay.
You make us better men, just so you know that. But there's
keep trying.
You know, I'm a trier. Are you all looking? If you could take that one, please.
So this is from Zoom user. Are you all looking at staking and even staking borrowing options for tokens? Staking with native token reflections, or maybe borrowing without receiving additional reflections. I'd like to be able to put some money into other plays without selling off any of my positions permanently. Hope that makes sense. Not to me, but Justin answered it. Justin, do you want to answer that one more time?
Yeah, so I think staking options are definitely something that we'll look at down the line. That's another way to kind of solidify our liquidity pool, is offering the ability to stake the tokens and lock them up for a period of time and earn rewards and everything. So it's definitely something that the team will look at. We're always looking at contract enhancements. That, you know, the industry moves fast, so you have to be able to adapt and change to that. So yeah, it's definitely something that we've talked about. It's probably not going to be anything right immediately, but it's definitely something that we're going to be doing in the near term. Again, I don't have a set date for you, but yes, it's definitely something that we're looking at.
We have 4 minutes. Do you have time to just give us a very basic overview of what staking borrowing options for tokens is for all of us who are like, what?
Yeah, so staking essentially is, hey, if I have 1,000 tokens in WeGro, I can go stake them and earn a APY, like a percentage rate, kind of like putting your money in your bank account, and your bank gives you a certain percentage back. So either you'll earn tokens in whatever token you're staking in, or you'll earn more tokens from WeGro, or you'll earn some native token, Ethereum or BNB. Like there's always different methods for staking. So, but yeah, it's definitely something that we're going to be putting in place at some point.
Cool, thanks.
Awesome. Awesome. Let's see if we have any other questions here. I think we've covered, well, let me go backwards. There may have been some at the very beginning. Did you see any, Rachel?
I didn't. I saw a lot of people I know, and I was like, hey, shout out to all the people I like on this call.
Yeah, that's on.
Yeah, I was snooping through, was on it. So we have 3 minutes left. This is your chance. If you have another question, type it into the chat now. Otherwise, I'm going to just pick someone at random. I'm going to pick Walt again. Walt, why don't you close this down with what meaningful and uplifting message you'd like to leave us with around how amazing WeGro is together.
Thank you. I love that phrase, we grow together. And on that vein, I want to leave us with some news about our ambassador program. We've got a lot of people that have expressed interest to carry the torch, and we want to, number one, and firstly, say thank you from the bottom of our hearts. It means more than you can understand. And we want you a part of the program. We want you involved. So understanding that, we've heard your calls, and we are in the process of building a structured ambassador program. To that end, you know, the challenge with any type of ambassador scenario is, how do you, number one, get people accepted? How do you log who they are? How do you catalog their efforts against ambassadorship? And how do you reward them for those efforts? And that's really challenging if we're just doing it by an Excel spreadsheet or a Google spreadsheet. You know, let's be frank. And that's what we're trying to very quickly close the gap on. Luckily, through some past lives and experiences, we're connecting one of my former friends and a company called Social Toaster. It's a social amplification platform built specifically for ambassadorship type programs. And the great thing about it is it allows us to accept people very easily and readily into the program, capture who they are, catalog what they're doing as far as spreading the word, and then from there, reward them for it. And we're looking at exactly what that rewards type program looks like. Today, there is no scenario that rewards crypto. That platform is not built, but understanding our past with Social Toaster, we're looking at that possibility. But things like gift cards or points against discounts and all kinds of other fun things will be offered as part of the rewards packages in those programs. And more details will come. So if you're interested in joining our ambassador program, please send an email to info@WeGrowCoin. That's WEGRO, no W, COIN.com. That will go in, we'll get that email. We're right now capturing everybody who's interested in joining the program. And the moment that we turn Social Toaster on, you'll get a message from the system and get alerted to how to participate and how everything works. So I wanted to leave everybody with that. Additionally, I wanted to kind of leak out that we are doing a whole lot more in the public eye now. We've built some of the bus. Now we're starting to get out into the public and talk about the bus we built. And some of that you're seeing with our weekly AMAs. We're going to be on more podcasts, more events. We've got an entire event schedule that's lining up for the course this coming year. But near term, next week, we're actually going to be co-hosting or actually hosting our AMA with a new partner of WeGro, Michael Loncar. Michael Loncar is a World Series of Poker champion. And again, at the very core, besides being very skilled at who and what he does for a living, like everybody else on this team, he's also one of those guys that's just truly a good dude. So we're real excited to participate with him. He has a weekly Twitch live series called Long Car Live. And he talks to everybody from other World Series of Poker players to famous musicians and sports players to people in the
Rather large
world.
crypto following too.
And he's got a huge crypto following, and some of that's because of his own self-interest. He's no slouch when it comes to understanding our realm. So again, so many things that are really interesting synergies between who he is and where we are, and we're real excited to jump in with him, and we'll be co-hosting our AMA next week on his Twitch and broadcasting live. So we'll be furthering sending out details over the next coming days. So keep an eye out on our social channels and to learn more. And with that, I want to thank everybody for spending an hour with us tonight. We greatly value your time. We greatly value you spending it with us. Thank you for all of your continued support. We're excited by where this is going, what the possibilities are, and every day the people that continue to pop into our fold that really truly amaze all of us. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for participating tonight. And with that, we'll bid you adieu.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you.
Bye, guys.